Warriors will play the Nets tomorrow night at empty Chase Center. The Warriors made the announcement after an order from the San Francisco Health Office prohibiting events of 1,000 people or more from assembling because of the coronavirus. After Thursday's game, the Warriors are away from the Chase Center until March 25th. Here's a reaction from around the league.
Not having fans is going to be tough, because everybody that play basketball, they play for the fans, they play for, energy, the atmosphere. But at the end of the day, we got to think about, our health and safety. Not just the players, the fans.
Yeah, it would definitely be weird at first. But I think, when you start chalking up in the win and loss column, it won't be so weird after all. Because at the end of the day, professional basketball players. So we got to play in an empty arena. It wouldn't be fun, but, it'd be competitive.
Everything about our routines, is relying upon that kind of game day energy. Pulling up to the arena, seeing fans, outside of Chase, walking around, all the Warrior jerseys, and even the energy in the building. You can feel it all the way through the locker room, through the tunnel, and stuff like that. So once the game actually starts and you see another team out there, it'll be weird, but I think we'll kind of get into that flow fairly easily. But just that lead up to it, there's going to be a lot of big eyes out there just kind of observing how different the situation and the atmosphere is.
It'd be something different, like playing pickup. We haven't played a NBA game like that. No one has, and for that to be a possibility is definitely different. I'm anxious to see how it is in Golden State. How that will be, since that would be the first game. But if it happens, it's our job to still go out there and play and try to make it as normal as we can.
NBA insider Adrian Woj back with us here on SportsCenter. And we talked earlier about a conference call this afternoon involving the NBA's Board of Governors. Woj, take us through. What do we know so far about this?
Well, at least early on in that call, Kevin, the league was opening up to teams to get their feedback and from owners about what they're thinking and the conversation about how to proceed. There was another meeting earlier today, Zach Lowe and I reported on, the Players Association and the league office hierarchy. And one of the clear messages, I think, to the Players Association from the league today, we were told, was they wanted to find a way to continue playing the season without missing games, keeping them on television, but with the expectations it was probably, at least for some period of time, not going to include fans. And listen, you've also had the conversation move toward moving games out of home arenas into visiting arenas, even neutral sites. So those are all things on the table right now.
Well, what's the NBA's goal here as they discuss how to go forward today, tomorrow, next week, next month, and later this summer?
Well, as much as they can, the idea is that they want to keep from having to cancel games, whether that's costing themselves regular season games, having to impact the postseason. There may be no way around that, but for now, the conversation is largely set on, number one, no fans in the arena, and then are there other venues, if specific venues can't be used, perhaps even in other cities, that can be used to get them through this season. But there's new information every day, and everyone is having, to have a conversation here that is fluid around the NBA, just like we are in this country.
Fluid is the word, as we will continue to monitor your updates throughout SportsCenter. Sage?
Stephen A. Smith joins us now live from New York with more. And Stephen A., let's kind of pick up where Woj left off. Again, we know that the Warriors are going to now play their game tomorrow against the Nets without fans. We know the league was trending toward doing the same thing everywhere, league-wide, for an unknown period of time. And now we're hearing potentially moving games to cities that haven't been affected yet. What's your gut right now, Stephen A.?
Well, my gut tells me that they're not going to even move the games to cities that haven't been affected, because obviously with the World Health Organization classifying this now officially as a pandemic, this is an incredibly serious issue. And the objective is to make sure that the disease simply doesn't spread. And if you are already in an area that hasn't been infected, remember, according to various reports that have been out there, Sage, you could literally have the virus but not not know anything for several days at a time. So I can't believe that, knowing that nugget of information, that the leagues are going to say, okay, let's take the games and take them to areas, transition them to areas that haven't been affected yet, because the reality is that you don't know who is infected or who is not infected, and that could ultimately lead to its dissemination throughout the country. So these are the kind of things that they have to be careful about. I think they obviously are. We obviously have to place our faith in them. The players' health obviously is paramount, but so is the fans. And I think that's why you see the measures that have been taken actually being taken, because everybody recognizes how serious this is.
And we absolutely need to focus on everybody, the fans. But doesn't that include the players, Stephen A., when it is one of the most physical games out there? I mean, there's never a moment that a body is not touching another body out there. At what point, at this point, it wouldn't surprise me if they say no games, because of course it's going to spread when it's that physical, right?
Unfortunately, I don't think a move like that drastic would be made unless a player gets infected. If a player gets infected, then I think that you'll see the cancellation of the games. But as long as there's no diagnosis of a player contracting the virus, I don't believe that you'll witness owners losing the kind of money that they would stand to lose if indeed the games were canceled. Remember, Brian Windhorst came on Get Up this morning and then First Take with yours truly and Max Kellerman and Molly, and he highlighted how the playoffs in LA alone is projected to make in excess of, or generate in excess of $100 million. And so when you're talking about that kind of money, and especially the impact that it would have on salary caps moving forward in the event that events are canceled, I think the last resort is going to be the cancellation of those games, unless a player is identified as having contracted the virus. If that doesn't happen, I don't see the cancellation of games taking place, but I do see a multitude of games being played in front of empty arenas.
Absolutely. It only takes one player, and then everything goes more downhill from there. I got to ask you, though, you live in New York, you work in New York. The state of New York, not just the state of New York, now has the second highest number of reported cases of coronavirus. The Seattle area at number 1. New York is always kind of an invincible place there. That's the feeling in New York. Describe what you're feeling out there as you walk those streets. Are people talking about this?
You got a lot of people that are nervous. Yeah. You don't see too much handshaking. You see fist bumps at the very, very least, or people might elect to hug one another, but they're not really touching one another the way that they used to. The embraces just seem to be the same. No matter where you go, people are talking about it. People have been a bit reticent to embrace it with the seriousness that it deserved up until about 24 hours ago, in my estimation. Over the last 24 hours in New York City, I've seen vastly different behavior than what I saw just 2 days ago. The level of nervousness has elevated exponentially, and obviously people are taking it incredibly seriously now, particularly when you hear about Japan, South Korea, Italy, canceling events, people not being allowed to show up to events. Now you're hearing about the NBA collaborating with the NHL, MLB, etc., about not having fans participate or banning the media from locker room access to players. When you hear these kind of things going on and you see the potential that exists to cost these leagues money, you know it must be serious if leagues are willing to cost themselves money in order to engage in levels of precaution and what have you. You know at that particular moment in time, it's no joke, because people are not trying to lose money, except for now. They're willing to lose money for safety purposes, which is the wise decision.
It feels much different than it did, to your point, just a couple of hours ago. That's what happens when the WHO comes out and uses the word pandemic. Stephen A. Smith with us live from New York. Thank you.